Hi there and welcome to my third full dot along video. Today's video is great for beginners and it is going to zone in on one particular facet of making dot mandalas called alignment steps. Stay tuned because by the end of this video you are going to have your own copy of today's dot mandala and you're going to know a whole lot more about alignment steps and develop your skills in using them. I identify 5 different components or types of dots within a mandala. And in today's video, we're going to focus on what I call alignment steps. Alignment steps are an important opportunity to grow your mandala out with equal symmetry in all 8 areas, as the case is today, because we're going to be working on an 8-point structure so that everything grows out evenly as possible. If you look at my videos, you will notice that I never use on smaller scaled pieces, anything that's 6 inches or less, I never use guidelines. I use the dots themselves to develop a piece that is as symmetrical and even as possible. And today, as you work through this project, I am going to pass on to you all of the little tips and tricks that I have for using alignment dots to make this possible. We will have 5 different opportunities throughout the project to work on alignment dots, such as this one. You'll see here that I've pointed out where the alignment dot is and that it aligns completely with the center of the piece we're working on. Alignment dots have a couple of characteristics. The first is that they will follow what I call foundation steps. They may not come immediately after, but they always have a relationship to foundation dots. They typically are also smaller than the foundation dot that they follow. They don't have to be, but in today's piece, they all will be a little bit smaller than the foundation step that they follow. So this is a quick little introduction to tell you a bit about what alignment steps are. Now we're going to get into the process of making today's mandala and get you to learn all about alignment steps by doing them. If you find this video helpful, you can like or comment down below, and you can also share it with other people who are on their dot mandala journey as well. And don't forget that you can hit the subscribe button if you would like to take part in more dot along experiences, watch more tips and tutorials that I post here on YouTube. Let's go over the materials you're going to use today, starting with the paints. Don't get hung up on having the exact colors. All you need is to make sure that you have differences between the shades. So for instance, where there are 4 types of blue, make sure that you can see a difference between all 4. For this project, you will use what I call the set of 7 dotting tools. These are specific sizes and are referred to through all of my patterns and video tutorials. I've developed a free guide and a YouTube video to show you how to assemble your set of 7 dotting tools. Assemble them once and then you've got them for all Otana projects. Details are down below. For the surface today, you will want a smooth surface that is at least 5.5 inches across in all directions. I've shown here 2 options. One is a canvas and another is a super smooth rock. Paint your surface black if it's not already black, and then you're ready to go. All right, we are now ready to start dotting along. The first thing I'm going to do is mark the center of my surface. On a rock painted black, all I need to do is just kind of etch that in with my stylus tool. Time for the very first dot. I'm using tool 2 and purple paint to make my center dot of this mandala. Next is the all-important structural step. And this mandala has an 8-point structure. I'm going to link you down below to resources I've developed that break down step by step how to do the process that you're seeing here with full instructions and a practice sheet that I have developed where you can practice this particular technique. You can also watch along here and follow along if you already know the process. Now that we're getting into the flow of building the mandala, I will not be speaking during every single step. I'm just going to pop on and point out things connected to our focus, which is alignment steps today, and any other little tips that I feel would be helpful and important to this particular mandala. As we move through each step, what you need to do is make sure you are taking a look at what tool size to use, the color paint to use, and take a look at the video for the placement of the dots. And as you know all three of those details, you can join me in adding on that step of the mandala. All right, so we're going to get here into our first alignment step. You're seeing me demonstrate how I go about adding this in. I am ignoring the blue dots I have created before. They are not my focus. My focus is the very center of the purple dot, and every dot I'm creating on this step aligns with that. So I'm ignoring the blue dots and focusing in on the imaginary point right in the center of the purple dot of the mandala so that these little dots correct any issues that arose as I built out towards this point. Here you will see a vocabulary word that I have developed called the taper. I will put a link down below to my complete vocabulary list on the website for Otana. Here comes our second opportunity to correct alignment issues, our second alignment step. This time it's using tool 6, but you're going to see the process is the same. I'm focused in on the center of my purple dot and I'm pulling my hand back or up depending on where I'm placing the dot. I'm always working at either the 6 o'clock position or the 12 o'clock position to place these alignment steps so that they are as perfectly aligned with the center as I possibly can get them. And I'm ignoring everything else that happened between the center and out to this point. This is my focus on growing out evenly using this process. All right, we're getting in here to using a really big dot. And I want to point out a couple of things here because I've had some folks asking me about painting on a rock and working with a curved surface. I'll likely separate this out into its own video at some point in the coming weeks. But just to show you here, what I do is I'm working around a curved surface. I'm picking up that extra paint inside of this big dot so it doesn't have an opportunity to ooze down. I'm going to keep a close eye as well. Even if I lift up some of it, it may not be enough. So as I go around, I'm just applying the paint, all of the paint that's needed for these awesome big light orange dots. And then I take my stylus tool and I go in without disturbing the edges of the big dots and I lift up the excess paint in the center. I move it around, I lift it up, I wipe it on a paper towel, and that will keep the paint from oozing down and creating a misshapen dot. Here we are with another alignment step, and it is aligning now with the big light orange dots that we just created. So they're on the other 8 lines that are radiating out from the center. So we were working before on aligning with the blue dots, the progression of blue dots, and now we have this opportunity to correct and work with any issues that came up on the other lines that are radiating outwards from the center. Process is exactly the same. I'm taking my time to make sure this little tiny dot is doing its mighty and important job of aligning with the middle of my purple dot. Here comes another alignment step. So we get another opportunity to repeat the process and practice again. And as we move outwards from the center, the process is still the same, but you may find it a little more challenging. So it's really helpful to keep practicing this technique and be aware that it can be more challenging as the mandala grows outwards. But the process is still the same. I'm checking in with the center of my mandala and working to align this dot with that center. I'm just going to take a minute here and check in with those big light orange dots and make sure that that paint isn't oozing, especially now that I have dots on the outer edge of them. They could easily just drip and interfere. So I'm just checking in, moving that paint around before I start in on my next step. Now it's kind of hard to tell here with the angle of the camera, but I really am working on a curved rock. I'm going to go in here and just check in on these red dots, the bright red dots, and make sure that they are not going to drip as well. I'm shifting the red paint upwards so that it doesn't have an opportunity to drip down and change the shape of that red dot. Here's the final of the 5 alignment steps in this mandala. I'm just taking a moment. It may not be apparent here, but I am using my eye to visualize the imaginary line going inward. I'm putting all of these down here at the bottom placement. So I'm aligning it with the center of the purple dot. This completes the bottom layer of dots. Before you move on to the next step, which begins layer 2 of dots, make sure that your piece is completely dry, either by allowing it to air dry, or you can speed the process up by using a hair dryer. These dots complete layer 2. So after these dots, I want you to let your piece dry, again, either by allowing it to have time to air dry or using a hair dryer to speed the process up. Then we're on to the third and final layer. Thank you so much for dotting along with me. I hope you learned a lot about alignment steps and what they are and their function within the dot mandala. I welcome you to share your dots by posting to Facebook, Otana World on Instagram, or using the hashtag Otana.